Today's learning target is I can find the percent of a number. Today we're going to be solving problems that look like this right here. Now the key for us today to remember is this word of in math. And if you remember, of in math means that we multiply. So if we keep that in mind, we know what this problem here is asking. So it says 5% of, I know of means times, 300. Now I'm going to show you two different ways that we can solve this problem. Okay, the first way is we want to turn this percent into a fraction. Now the first way would be to write this 5% as a fraction. And if you remember, percent means per 100. Okay, so 5% written as a fraction is 5 per 100, or 5 over 100. And now we're going to times that by 300. Now, if you remember from our multiplication of fractions unit, when we're going to multiply fractions, and one is a whole number and the other is a fraction, we want to turn both the numbers into fractions, just like this. And now, remember when we multiply across. Now, the nice thing is this. You're going to be able to use calculators for this unit. So if I couldn't use a calculator, the first thing I'd want to do is simplify. And I'd look and I'd say 100, I could divide both these by 100. But since we can use a calculator, we can just calculate this right off the bat. So 5 times 300 on my calculator would give me 1,500, and 100 times 1 is 100. And now with this problem, we have 1,500 or 1,500 divided by 100. Maybe you can do that mentally, or maybe you do that on your calculator. Either way, you would find you would get 15. So 5% of 300 is 15. Now the other way we can solve this problem is to turn this percent to a decimal right off the bat. And if you remember, to turn a percent to a decimal, what we do is we move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 5% would, as a decimal, would be written as 5/100ths. Now, if you didn't remember how to do that, you could think of this. 5% written as a fraction would be 5 over 100. And we know that to figure out the decimal of that, we do 5 divided by 100. And if I did that, I would get 5/100ths. Or you just look at how this is said, 5/100ths, and that's how you would write it. And now we'll just calculate 5/100ths times 300 on our calculator. And if I did that, I'd get 15. Okay, so let's look at how we would solve this type of a problem using the two ways we just looked at. So remember, of means equal, so 120% of 75. So if I wanted to write this out as a fraction, this 120%, I would just do 120 per 100 times 75, and I know that I want to put that as a fraction, so I do 75 over 1, and now I've set it up and I'm ready to multiply. Now remember, if I couldn't use calculators, I would want to do some simplifying right off the bat, and I'd look at these two and say I could divide both those by 25, but because I can use a calculator, I can just go ahead and multiply across. So this would give me 9,000, if I solved it on a calculator, over 100, and now it becomes the problem 9,000 divided by 100, and that gives me 90. Now the other way to do this would be to write this 120% as a decimal right off the bat. Now remember, to turn a decimal to a percent, I move the decimal 2 places to the left, and that would give me 1 2/10. Now again, remember, if you didn't remember that, if you wrote 120% or per 100 as a fraction, it looks like that. And if you divide that out, 120 divided by 100, you're going to get 1 2/10 of, which is times, 75. And when I calculate that, I'm going to get 90. So both these ways are going to work. The key to remember is to show your work, whichever way that you choose. Okay, let's look at one more example of one that you'll see today. So we've got 3.2%, and I know that that means 3.2 per 100. Of means times 30. So I write it out, and I'm going to turn both these into fractions. And when I calculate that out, I get 96 hundredths. Okay, just like that. And now I could do 96 divided by 100, but I don't even need to because I know 96 hundredths written as a decimal would be this way. That's what it would be if I calculated it, but it's quicker to just write it out when you say it out loud. So 3.2% of 30 is going to be less than 1 whole. It's going to be 96 hundredths. Now the other way to do this would be to turn this percent to a decimal. And again, remember, I would move my decimal 2 places to the left. And if I couldn't remember that, think percent, turn it to a fraction, 3.2 per 100. So it's 3.2 divided by 100. And if I did that, I would get decimal 0.32 or 32 thousandths times 30, and if I calculated that out, that would equal 96 hundredths again, just like we had on the other way.